For migrant kids separated from their parents at the border, the length of detention and quality of care can sometimes come down to the luck of the draw. A congressional briefing obtained by CBS News shows startling inconsistencies in how long shelters and detention centers take to release migrant children to their families. For kids in these so-called secure facilities, the average wait can be more than 6 months in prison-like conditions. So Graham Cates has been following this story and joins us now. Thank you so much. So one of the things that your reporting sort of uncovered is that these secure facilities that are are very jail-like, children have a tendency to stay there longer than they do in the less secure facilities that you would think would be better for children.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Those facilities are designed to be like juvenile detention here for domestic kids. That's a kid who's accused of a crime like murder or something worse. And that's part of the reason. But what ends up happening is children who are difficult for staff in standard non-secure facilities often end up in the secure facilities, and they're not necessarily accused of crimes. They could be children who have experienced significant trauma either before they started their journey to the U.S., on their way, or they're acting out because they're not with their family, right?
Right.
And then they get placed in these jail-like settings, and we know from science that that's the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing for children who have trauma. And these settings actually add an extra layer of kind of this judicial review for them to get to their families, because once you're in that setting, the process isn't just get them to the family as quick as possible, but it's like make sure they're safe for society too.
So, I mean, what's the thought process, or how do they determine what kid goes where then?
Everything in this system varies from facility to facility, and that's what this report is really pointing out. We have 170 sites across the country where unaccompanied migrant children are being held, and there's this overall goal in the entire system. One is to get them to their families or relatives or whoever they'll be living with as soon as possible, and the other one is keep them in what they call least restrictive home-like settings. And so for most of the facilities, the idea is that kids should be allowed to kind of walk around, they should have classes, that kind of thing, and they should be kind of small and home-like. But what this report shows is that the system is moving in a different direction. We have larger facilities, and the larger facilities are less personal, and they're less likely to tolerate the kind of behaviors that you might find from children
who are traumatized.
That's right.
So do we know why it's moving in that direction as opposed to what the optimum desired home-like environment is? Like why that's happening?
The last couple of years have seen an influx of unaccompanied children, and so there's a very famous facility that was in Homestead, Florida that fit as many as 2,000 kids at one point. And now they're looking to have smaller than that, but more facilities that fit a couple hundred kids. But in the U.S. detention system, the ones that the domestic kids go to, there are very few facilities that large. We really don't, even with kids that we accuse of crimes, we try not to keep them in large facilities. We try to keep them in places where they get personal, kind of intimate care, because the whole idea of our detention system is when you hit 18, we want you to be able to come out and be a good person who's gotten the treatment they need, not someone who's just kind of institutionalized, right?
Well, yeah, we're trying to rehabilitate with our own sort of domestic system. So what do we know about the impact that this is having on these children who have already been through a lot by the time they get to a facility like this?
We know it's deleterious. I mean, it's kind of at this point, it's an internationally accepted thing that for child welfare, you want children to be with family. And in general, every day in custody is considered a lost day for a kid. The longer that custody goes on, even if it's a place that like has a good reputation, if a kid is having every moment of their day adjudicated by someone who's not a family member and who frankly is doing it as their job, right? Like it's this whole thing with liability. It's a whole set of rules that not only do the caretakers have to follow, but the kids have to follow, and it's not the same thing as growing up at a home.
Indeed. I'm sure there's sort of the tenderness and all that other stuff. I mean, when you're dealing with hundreds, even thousands of children, you just can't take time out to do that sort of stuff. So then, what's the solution here? Did the report have any recommendations? What needs to change?
Yep, so this is being provided to members of the House of Representatives and the Senate. And the recommendations are make laws that enforce what is actually already supposed to be the law of the land, which is that we're going to focus on small home-like settings. They
just seem so far from that right now.
Yeah. In this administration, we've been moving away from that.
Yeah.
And they said one of the big problems they noticed in even the better facilities in terms of moving children to their families is a lack of adequate mental health care. And if you think about what this population of kids is, it's a group that you would think needs more of that.
Yes.
And that's not really being provided for in the system right now.
Yeah. Oh, Graham, very good reporting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.